All right, everybody, we're back with Ask Us on the Trap Talk podcast, and we've got a question coming in, and this one's kind of coming your way, Zach. Love the show, guys, and your guests. Thank you to Trey Wilborn for talking about flinches. I enjoyed hearing about that issue and all the information from the great shooters. Zach, from 2005 to 2006, you raised your averages significantly. Singles, nearly 4 points, caps, 3 points, and doubles, 5 points. What did you do to accomplish such a huge increase over the course of 1 year? Thank you, and please keep the podcast coming. Zach, take it away.
Practice, a lot of practice. So I think at the beginning, when you're figuring things out, the learning curve requires a lot of shooting. So right at the beginning of your shooting career, I don't think you can almost shoot too much. Around that time, I was also watching some really great shooters. So Dave Kelly, Sean Hawley, Ricky Marshall Jr. I was trying to pick their brains, asking questions, figuring out what I needed to do, right? But then I said, okay, this is what I need to do. And then I would go and I would implement practice nightly. I'd say back then it was 2-3 nights a week at least. And I would work on, okay, today I'm going to work doubles, and I'd shoot 300 or 400 doubles. Today I would work left angles on 1, right angles on 5, singles, doubles, handicap, shoot wobble trap. I mean, I was doing a lot of things to say, okay, I'm going to make this target a lot harder than an event so that when I go to the event, it's going to seem a lot easier. And what you'll also notice is I started shooting more tournament targets. So I'll say that I got more comfortable in that competitive environment because at first it was just a little bit of shooting, and then, okay, boom, I'm shooting a lot. So that would be, and Ricky, I got to give Ricky some credit too. I think he came out around that time and gave me some pointers and some tips, and I implemented them. But it wasn't 100% just Ricky. It was Ricky. It was Dave. It was a lot of the shooters that I was watching. But basically, got some instruction and then implemented a lot of practice. And also, that was when I started implementing some goal strategy of where I wanted to go. So at first I was just kind of shooting, and then at that point I really started to nail down. And I want to say thank you for that question, because I think this is the first time I got to go first on this Ask Questions deal with Ricky, because he's always like, oh, Zach, I got this one. So, keep them coming to Zach Nannini if you want to hear the answer.
Well, and Zach, you got to tell him too, that was your second year of shooting in 05, okay? So then you went from 4,600 singles to 06, you shot 6,500. You went from 4,600 handicap to 8,100, and you went from 4,000 doubles to 5,500. I'm just looking at your averages. And like Charlie Long said when we did the podcast with him, the more you shoot, the easier it is to raise your average.
I agree with that. I agree that if you're shooting a lot, you're staying on the gun, it's a lot easier. But you will get to a point in your career. I don't know when it's going to happen for you, but you will get to a point in your career where you've kind of figured out what you need to do. And then you just need to kind of maintain it. So like with Ricky, I've noticed he could take, 3 or 4 or 5 months off, not shoot a shotgun, come back, shoot 3 or 4 boxes of shells, and he's still Ricky Marshall. That doesn't go away.
That's not always true, though, but he is correct. I shoot, when I'm not shooting events, I'm shooting sporting clays. I'll shoot skeet, flyers, whatever.
The deeper you get into your career and the more experience and the more you know what you're doing, the less maintenance you have to do. The more that you need to learn, the more maintenance that you have to do, But once you've figured out your move, your look points, and all those other things, as long as you don't forget them from season to season, I think it's going to be really quick to get right back on the horse and ride.
That's true.
And we've heard some really good advice through the podcast, Foster, saying, hey, I take notes, and when I've got those downtimes, I review those notes. I mean, that's, if you want to talk about being a champion and having the discipline, there's a checklist of things. And I think there's a phase of going through the mechanical learning process where you're learning all your angles, you're learning, your yardages, you're learning how you're going to shoot. And then when you get to that place and maintain your mechanics, now it's all, I was just listening to Dagan's podcast that you guys did. I was looking at that again, mental game, right? So then you move into that second phase of the game, which is, I know my mechanics, I know how I shoot.
Yep.
those things are checked. I just got to keep, the rest knocked off. Now I got to focus on my brain. I got to focus on my competition of, staying focused and things like that. So, but yeah, great question. And as always, keep them coming, and email your questions to askus@traptalkpodcast.com, and we'll get these two guys to answer them for you. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.